Hi, this is Kamera. My first few minutes with God, day number 258, Daniel chapter 4 through verse 6. I'm trying to do this video while I'm outside of this Disney resort. A lot of people coming by, so yeah. So look at this. It's an all-star. Pretty cool. Anyway, today's read, Nebuchadnezzar, he has this terrifying dream, this dream about a big tree. It's terrifying. And he calls his astrologers, enchanters, and his people, his sorcerers, to interpret the dream. No one knows. So he calls for Daniel. Daniel is the one who is able to interpret this dream for him. And it is scary because what happens is in the dream, the big, mighty, powerful tree, strong tree gets cut down. And the order to cut it down was from the heavens. And so Daniel basically tells him, just do right, turn from your wicked ways, stop doing wicked things, just do good, and I'm sure everything's going to be good. Well, King was happy that he was able to get that interpretation. Fast forward 12 months later, Nebuchadnezzar decides he walks on his terrace. That's my view, that he walks on his terrace outside his bedroom in his palace, and he takes a look at Babylon, and he just admires the splendor and says basically he is the one who made it all happen. Well, God told him, the voice from heaven just told him that he is going to be stricken for those seven seasons of time. I'm thinking that's 7 years, where he lives like an animal, a wild animal. He's basically not in his right frame of mind. And so until you understand that all of this is mine, and I give to whom I want to, or desire, or please to. So what happens is, about 7 years. I say 7 years. I don't know what they mean by 7 seasons of time. I'm thinking 7 years, and and so he is not in his right frame of mind until he realizes that it is God who is king over all things, and he gives to whom he wants to. And so, it says that his nobleman and his officials found him, and now he's here to tell us that everything belongs to God, and He gives and blesses whom He will. And so, fast forward, you have the next king who come about from Babylon, Belshazzar. Belshazzar, this boy here, he's partying. He is partying, enjoying his company of 1,000, this big feast, and he calls for God's golden cups that were taken from the temple of God. And so he takes those items, and they're partying, and they're worshiping their God. They're worshiping their God with God's sacred objects. Well, lo and behold, suddenly a human finger comes and writes on the wall. Whew, that's scary, right? Out of nowhere. Yeah, that was a buzzkill. And so then, of course, no one understood. So someone calls out and say, Daniel can give us the interpretation of it. So that's what he does. He called Daniel, and again, Daniel gives an interpretation. And Daniel, he recalled, you know what happened with Nebuchadnezzar, how, he thought that everything, was all about him, that he was the one that created his big empire. And you know that, but you won't be humbled. You're refusing to be humble, and you're defiling God. So basically, your division, your kingdom will be divided. And so, so then he tells them the interpretation of the dream. It's going to be divided between the Medes and the Persians. That night, Belshazzar, he was killed. Yes. Fast forward. Now we have where the Medes are now in place, where the king is now Darius. Darius, when he becomes king, he divides Babylon in 12 provinces, and one of his head people, administrators, is Daniel, and he's impressed with Daniel. Daniel has proven himself to be very responsible, very faithful. He's on point. King loves him. He's doing a great, fantastic job, better than fantastic. So King decides that he's going to make Daniel over the entire empire, And so there's jealousy that arises. And so you have these people who the other administrators who decided we need to find fault with Daniel. They can't find any fault with Daniel. There was nothing they can do to find fault with Daniel. So what they do is they say, okay, the only way we're going to find fault with Daniel has to be something with his religion. And so Daniel was a praying man. And so what they did was they go to the king, make this little, they entice him to, I guess build his head a little bit bigger. Tell him, you know what, how about we have this restriction where no one can pray for 30 days. If they pray, they have to pray to you. And so King agrees with this. Anybody who is caught praying to any other divinity, it doesn't matter, then they will be thrown in the lion's den. Well, yeah, Daniel was still praying with his window open, facing Jerusalem. Yeah, 3 times a day, kneeling and all. And so the astrologers, they went and they what's the astrologers? Or the administrators? Okay, they go and they talk. They tell the king Daniel is praying to reminding him of the decree. And then the Medes and Persia, they had this policy where once the king signed off on a decree, then it can't be changed. They have to follow through. King upset when he finds out that Daniel was the one who they tripped up, and he's upset. He's so upset. He's so distraught. They call Daniel. He's trying to find a way to get Daniel out of this. There's no way. They got to follow through. So Daniel is thrown in the lion's den, and he's sealed in there. Yeah. So the king is so upset that he prays and he's fasting all night. He's rejecting all type of entertainment. He can't even sleep. So early the next morning, he goes, Daniel, did your God whom you serve so faithfully, did he save you? Did he rescue you? Daniel calls out and he says, long live the king. Yes, God has sent an angel to shut the mouth of the lion. And so what I like about this is Daniel says clearly God I was okay to do what I did because he stood firm in God. It's like he had to prove, like I wasn't being a rebel. I was doing what I was supposed to do, and that was still being faithful to God. And that can be confusing because I thought about that and I'm like, there are times people just want to shut down about God or Christ, and people say it's not the time. But Daniel stood firm, and he was actually blessed to know that he was doing right by God. God said there was no offense against him from what he was doing, but God had protected him. So now the king, he's upset because he's still upset by the way Daniel was tripped up. And so he calls those guys who had tripped up Daniel and enticed the king to make that decree and call their families, and threw them into that lion's den. The lion's den, who didn't bother Daniel at all, they catch them before they even hit the ground and tear their bodies apart. Something how once a family member can mess up for everybody. Had a whole family killed because of their jealousy. I really do love what God has shown us about him in these messages. But there you have it, guys. I believe that's it. There you have it. It's day number 258, Daniel chapter 4 through 6. You have a God-filled blessed day.